Yeah, so what are some of the interesting things that you did early days when you were starting off as a photographer? What are some of the interesting projects? How are you moving around? How did people get to know you as a photographer in those early days?
The AfroPreneur Podcast, a podcast for African entrepreneurs, presents inspiring, innovative, and disruptive entrepreneurs from Africa as they share their lessons, insights, and learnings from their unique entrepreneurial ventures. I'll be your host. My name is Ogweno Stephen. Let's roll.
So at that time, I used to shoot anything and everything. Even when I completed high school, now coming to university, anything that I found, anything I shot. So if it's maybe people, places, activities, all that, I'd still document all that. So it went from that to now requesting people if I can, we can do projects. At that time, they were just very simple projects, just for me to build a portfolio, or rather to curate my own portfolio of work. So I started taking pictures of my friends, classmates, and all that. If we are in the labs, perhaps some of the times though, at tech sessions. Then after classes, I remember I'd interact with students from who were doing at the time. They were doing, is it film and theater, fashion and design, and economics. Yeah. So I think these are three faculties that really, helped me in campus, especially in my visual space. Yeah. So from shooting anything and everything to now shooting people, as I discover that, now I think portraiture for me, because it was a moment of me discovering myself, but now in the visual space. So me getting to know that I should do more of portraiture, I should do more of taking pictures of people and all that. Then it all transitioned to now me doing very creative projects, especially in fashion and all that. So from simple portraiture work to fashion photography, then to conceptual photography.
I see.
Yes.
Yeah, what the world might not know is that I was one of the people you shot here and there.
Yes, a couple of times.
Yeah, from way back in 2016.
Yes.
When I was primarily a runway model and commercial model as well. And so the question I have at that point is, how did it come that you eventually go to people like us who are now models, who are working in the fashion space back then? And how did that help amplify the work that you're already doing?
Yeah, so I'll just go back then flash forward. So growing up, the same kid used to read. I used to read more of magazines than newspapers, and I would see pictures of models in magazines on billboards, and it's something that I used to admire. Up to now, I usually check out billboards. If there's any billboard somewhere, I will, check it out, examine it, whatnot, and have that image in my head, so that now, if perhaps I can create even a better work than what I've seen. So me approaching models and me approaching the likes of you and other models, it was because of me growing up and being influenced by magazines. So I wanted to do now fashion and beauty, and what I had seen, now bring it to life. What I was reading when I was a kid, the images that I would pluck from the magazines and put somewhere. Now transitioning from just reading or plucking pages to now shooting the images. Yes.
I see. Interesting. So, beginner photographer, you've got a few gigs, you've shot a few people. How does it grow from there? What was the pivotal point for you as a photographer where this was the point that changed the whole story today? What was that sort of tipping point?
So from shooting models, so one, the models helped me to build a portfolio, enhance my skills, because now you see, if you shoot this, tomorrow you shoot that, you become better. So your skills get better, you become a better photographer, you now have maybe a body of work to showcase and all that. So I remember back in 2016 going into 2017, there's this photography competition that I entered. It was Nikon Kenya Photography Awards. So remember, I have shot fashion, I've shot portraiture and all that. So I submitted a certain photo in the competition. I just submitted, and I even forgot about the competition. This was in 2016. So in, I think, early 2017, January or February, I saw that Nikon Kenya had released the list for the nominees, like for the top 10. At the time, it wasn't like nominees, it was just the winners, but now top 10. So top 3 were the ones who were getting prizes, but now there was a top 10 list. So out of the hundreds of thousands of photographers who submitted their photos in Kenya, I was among the top 10. Something that I was not expecting at all. I remember I was ranked number 8 in the country, and there were other like extraordinary photographers also in that list. So that was the point that I told myself that I was meant to do this thing. I did not choose photography chose me. So from there, things turned. Now 2017 is the year that I went from fashion or portraiture work now to conceptual photography. And I started doing conceptual work, crafting concepts and ideas, getting better at my lighting and all that, directing and all that. Yes.
So what does the process look like? So you've won awards and you've now sort of elevated into the next level, I'd call it, which is now conceptual photography. So what was your process, or what is your process as a conceptual artist really? How do you go, what is your thinking process from idea to creating the actual image, and then we could follow that up with, what are some of the recognitions that you've had alongside in that work?
Yeah, so first and foremost, there's the pre-production phase, whereby I'll sit down. So I will tell you perhaps the initial stages of the work, and because then and now, so then vis-a-vis now, just to narrate what's the difference. So before, I would perhaps maybe listen to a certain music or watch a certain movie, or I'm just somewhere and I'm just chilling and these ideas come. So if I'm watching a movie, I would see maybe tap something, if it's the lighting, if it's the cinematography, how this particular shot was conveyed. If it's a music genre, certain music genre, and I'm listening maybe to Diamond Platnumz, I will see a certain element and pick that. So picking this element and that element, so I could pick the lighting style from here, pick this from there, pick this from there, bring all these elements down and think of something that I can create that embodies everything that I've picked from certain things. Then from there, I perhaps maybe either I write a script or I sketch a storyboard. Then from the storyboard, now I do a mood board. So a mood board complements my storyboard in a way that it gives me a better direction on, let's say, if it's the style of makeup to be done, the style of hair to be done, the attires and all that, if it's props and all that. So this is now done from the mood board. Then from the mood board is now whereby I consult, or rather I call other creatives whom we can collaborate with, and they can come on board so that we can create a certain piece. So after I call these creatives, then is when now if it's a personal project, I scout for the model. So by scouting for the model, I'd either just walk around and observe people, and if there's someone who intrigues me, and have a word with them. If it's not in that direction, I'd maybe reach out. If it's someone that I know and I know this person can really pull out whatever I'd imagined, and contact them. If it's maybe, or at times I'll just write on social media, I need ABCD, someone who looks like this and that, blah blah blah. If you're interested, you can reach out. So those were the 3 ways I would get my models. But this was I was applying these for personal projects. Then what people don't know, it's personal projects that get you work. Because now if you have done a very wonderful concept and it's out there on social media, there's someone out there who would want to hire you, maybe for the same or for a particular style in that work. So let's say so-and-so could reach out because of your lighting, how you light your subjects. Someone could reach out to you, how you direct your subjects, because someone would feel like, I like the way you directed these kids. I like the way you directed these kids and made them look authentically themselves, or in a certain way. So it could be maybe the style of lighting, or how you direct these people, or even your editing style. So personal projects are very powerful, and they are the ones actually for me that give me the jobs that I get. So just something changed, because now when I transitioned to fantasy is still under conceptual. So actually conceptual is under fine art. So there is fine art as an umbrella, as an umbrella genre. Then now there's conceptual and the like, so conceptual fantasy and all this. So me, borrowing elements of conceptual photography and now fusing that with fantasy photography. So fantasy photography is different in that you have now to, beforehand, you have to create scenes. So in a conceptual photograph, I could shoot on location. Most of the times I was shooting on location. So either in a studio setup or outdoor. But now fantasy, you have to create everything from scratch. It's like when you're given a blank
canvas.
Yeah, a blank canvas, and you're told create something on this canvas. That is how fantasy photography is. So you have to create elements from scratch. So beforehand, let's say if right now a client approaches me, Steve, I want you to do ABCD, and if let's say it's for advertising, of course advertising you would have those fantasy elements. So before that, I'd have to craft the concept first, so I understand, okay, what am I going to do? Then from the concept, I design I model the designs. Because now it's fantasy photography is more technical than conceptual. Conceptual, it's just you have the idea, let's go execute. But now fantasy, you have to model the design, which kind of takes quite some time. Then after that, before modeling, you have to sketch. So you sketch something at least on a piece of paper. Then from that, now you model that design, get the client, shoot, then now find a way of fusing the client with your designs. So that takes quite some time. The minimum amount of time that I've done a fantasy piece is, let's say, 8 hours. So it's usually between 8 to 30 hours per artwork.
Alright, thanks for listening, and that's a wrap for this episode. For more exciting episodes like this, Don't forget to follow our podcast, the AfroPreneur Podcast, on all streaming sites, and visit our website at www.ogwenostephen.com. See you on the next one.